The final straw. Cassandra Bennett stared at her computer screen, the blue light reflecting in her tired brown eyes. It was 7:30 p.m. on a Friday, and the office towers of downtown Chicago stretched endlessly outside her window. She had been at her desk since 6 a.m., surviving on coffee and determination alone. This was nothing new. For 4 years, she had been the right hand of Dominic Hartwell, the brilliant but brutally demanding CEO of Hartwell Finance Corporation. At 32, Dominic had built one of the most successful investment firms in the Midwest. He was the kind of man who commanded attention the moment he entered a room. Tall, with sharp features and piercing blue eyes, he wore his success like a second skin. Business magazines featured him regularly. His strategies were taught in universities. His name alone could make or break deals worth millions. But Cassie knew a different side of Dominic Hartwell. She knew the man who never acknowledged her birthday. The man who called her at midnight to discuss his breakfast preferences for the next morning. The man who critiqued everything from her font choices to the way she answered the phone. To the outside world, he was a genius. To Cassie, he was the reason she had developed stress headaches and forgot what weekends felt like. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister Jennifer. The message showed a photo of her nephew Tommy in his graduation gown, smiling broadly. The ceremony was tomorrow at 2 p.m. Cassie had promised months ago that she would be there. Tommy was graduating top of his class, and she was supposed to give a speech at the family dinner afterward. She had marked it on every calendar, requested the time off, received approval in writing. The demand. The door to Dominic's corner office swung open. His footsteps were confident, almost aggressive, as they always were. Cassie did not look up, keeping her focus on the quarterly reports she was formatting. Maybe if she appeared busy enough, he would leave her alone. "Cassie, we have a situation." His voice was smooth but carried an edge that suggested whatever he wanted was non-negotiable. She finally looked up. Dominic stood at her desk, his suit jacket already removed, his sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. Even exhausted, he somehow looked perfectly put together. It was infuriating. "What kind of situation?" Cassie asked carefully. "The Henderson account is falling apart. They want to meet tomorrow at noon to discuss terms, or they walk. This is a $40 million contract. I need you here to prepare the presentation materials and sit in on the meeting." Cassie felt her stomach drop. "Tomorrow is Saturday. I requested it off months ago." "I'm aware. But this is more important." He said it casually, as if her personal life was merely an inconvenience to be dismissed. "My nephew is graduating tomorrow. I'm giving a speech at his dinner. This is not something I can miss." Dominic's expression barely changed. "Family events happen all the time. $40 million deals do not. You'll need to be here at 9 a.m. to start preparations. Wear the navy suit. It photographs better." Something inside Cassie snapped. It was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet, like a thread that had been pulled too tight for too long finally breaking. She saved the document on her screen and closed her laptop with deliberate calm. "No," she said simply. Dominic blinked. In 4 years, she had never refused him. "Excuse me?" "I said no. I'm not coming in tomorrow." Cassie stood up, meeting his eyes directly. "I have requested this day off. You approved it. I have plans that cannot be changed." "Cassie, be reasonable. This is your job. I pay you extremely well to be available when I need you. You pay me to be your executive assistant, not your property. There is a difference." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her purse. Dominic's jaw tightened. "If you're not here tomorrow, you're making a choice about your future with this company. Is that a threat?" "It's a reality check. I need people I can depend on. People who understand that success requires sacrifice. Cassie began gathering her personal items from her desk. A framed photo of her and Jennifer at the lake. A small plant that had survived 4 years of office fluorescent lights. A coffee mug her nephew had painted for her when he was 8. "What are you doing?" Dominic's voice had changed slightly. Something uncertain crept in. "I'm making a choice about my future." Cassie unplugged her phone charger and dropped it in her bag. "For 4 years, I have sacrificed everything for this job. I've missed weddings, birthdays, holidays, and family dinners. I've worked 80-hour weeks. I've made your life run smoothly while mine fell apart. And in all that time, you have never once treated me like a human being who matters. That's not fair. I've given you raises, bonuses, opportunities. You've given me money. You've never given me respect." Cassie slung her bag over her shoulder. "I'm done, Dominic. Consider this my resignation, effective immediately." The walk away. The office had gone silent. The few remaining employees pretended to work while clearly listening to every word. Dominic stood frozen, his usual confidence cracking. "You can't just leave in the middle of everything. Watch me." Cassie walked toward the elevator, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Part of her expected him to chase after her, to apologize, to finally see her as a person rather than a tool. "Cassie, wait." His voice followed her, but she did not turn around. "The Henderson meeting, the quarterly reports, everything I need tomorrow, you're really walking away from all of it?" She pressed the elevator button. "You'll figure it out. You're a genius, remember? That's what all the magazines say." The elevator doors opened. Cassie stepped inside and finally turned to face him. Dominic stood in the middle of the office, his perfect composure completely shattered. He looked lost, confused, and something else she had never seen before. He looked afraid. "For what it's worth," Cassie said as the doors began to close, "I hope you find someone who can tolerate you better than I did." The elevator descended, and Cassie felt tears prick her eyes. But they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of relief. For the first time in 4 years, she was free. She pulled out her phone and texted Jennifer. "I'll be there tomorrow. Wouldn't miss it for the world." As she walked out into the cool Chicago night, Cassie did not look back at the towering Hartwell Finance building. She did not see Dominic standing at his office window 40 floors up, watching her disappear into the crowd, his hand pressed against the glass, his reflection showing a man who had just lost something irreplaceable and had no idea how to get it back. The aftermath. Saturday morning arrived with golden sunshine streaming through Cassie's apartment windows. She woke naturally at 8 a.m., no alarm blaring, no anxiety about being late. For the first time in 4 years, she had nowhere she was required to be until Tommy's graduation at 2 p.m. The freedom felt almost foreign. She made breakfast slowly, actually tasting her food instead of gulping it down while reviewing emails. She took a long shower. She chose a soft yellow dress that made her feel pretty rather than professional. When Jennifer picked her up at noon, Cassie felt lighter than she had in years. "You actually came," Jennifer said, hugging her tightly. "I was worried that awful boss of yours would find a way to drag you back." "Not anymore. I quit last night." Jennifer pulled back, eyes wide. "You what?" "Cassie, what happened?" "I finally realized my life is worth more than making Dominic Hartwell's life easier." Cassie smiled. "Now let's go celebrate Tommy. Today is about him." The graduation was beautiful. Tommy gave a valedictorian speech that made everyone cry. At the family dinner afterward, Cassie gave her speech about watching Tommy grow from a curious little boy into an impressive young man. She was present for every moment, her phone turned off, her mind completely focused on the people who actually mattered. She did not think about Dominic at all. Or at least, she tried not to. Dominic's realization. Dominic spent Saturday morning in his office, surrounded by papers he could not focus on. The Henderson meeting had been a disaster. Without Cassie's meticulous preparation, he had fumbled through the presentation. The clients had walked out, taking their $40 million elsewhere. He should have been furious about the lost contract. Instead, all he could think about was the look on Cassie's face when she walked away. He had tried calling her 17 times. Every call went straight to voicemail. He sent texts that went unanswered. By Sunday afternoon, desperation clawed at him. He drove to her apartment building and pressed the buzzer. No answer. He waited in his car for 3 hours, but she never appeared. Monday morning felt wrong. Dominic arrived at 6 a.m. as always, but the office felt empty despite the usual bustle. His coffee was wrong. His schedule was a mess. 3 meetings ran late because no one had prepared the materials properly. By noon, he had snapped at 5 different employees and accomplished nothing. His temporary assistant, a nervous young man named Paul, knocked hesitantly on his door. "Mr. Hartwell, the lawyer's office called about the contracts you needed to review." "Which contracts?" "I don't know, sir. Ms. Bennett usually handled those communications." Everything came back to Cassie. Every smooth operation, every seamless transition, every detail that made his life functional. She had been the invisible force holding everything together, and he had treated her like she was replaceable. Worse than the professional chaos was the personal void. Dominic realized he had started each day for 4 years looking forward to seeing Cassie. Her quiet competence. Her sharp wit when she thought he was not listening. The way she organized his entire world without him having to ask. He had taken her completely for granted, and now she was gone. The competition. Wednesday brought a new complication. Ryan Mitchell, CEO of Sterling Investment Group and Dominic's primary competitor, mentioned during a business lunch that he was impressed with Cassie's reputation. "I heard she left your company," Ryan said, his tone carefully neutral. "I've been hoping to bring someone of her caliber onto my team. We actually have an interview scheduled for Friday." Dominic's fork froze halfway to his mouth. "You're trying to hire Cassie? Why not? She's brilliant, experienced, and apparently available. Unless you've reconsidered letting her go?" Ryan smiled. "Although from what I understand, it was her choice to leave. Something about work-life balance and being treated with respect. Novel concepts, I know." The comment stung because it was true. Dominic finished the lunch on autopilot, his mind racing. The thought of Cassie working for Ryan, of seeing her in Sterling's office, of her giving someone else the loyalty and dedication she had given him, it made him feel physically ill. That evening, Dominic did something he had never done before. He left work at 6 p.m. and went to the small Italian restaurant 3 blocks from Cassie's apartment. It was her favorite place. She had mentioned it once, 2 years ago, and he had filed the information away without really thinking about why. He sat at a corner table, ordered wine he did not drink, and waited. At 7:30, the door opened and Cassie walked in. She looked different. Her hair was down instead of pulled back. She wore jeans and a soft sweater instead of her usual suits. She looked relaxed and happy, laughing at something on her phone. Then she saw him. The happiness drained from her face, replaced by guarded surprise. The confrontation. "What are you doing here, Dominic?" Cassie did not sit down. She stood by the table, arms crossed defensively. "I needed to see you. You won't answer my calls. That should tell you something." Her voice was cool but not cruel. "I have nothing to say to you." "Then just listen. Please." Dominic gestured to the empty chair. 5 minutes. "That's all I'm asking." Cassie hesitated, then sat down with obvious reluctance. 5 minutes. Dominic had prepared a speech, rehearsed it a dozen times. But now, looking at her across the table, all the practiced words evaporated. I'm sorry. That's it? That's what you wanted to say? No, I mean, yes, but there's more. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she had seen 1,000 times. Cassie, I was wrong. About everything. The way I treated you, the way I took you for granted, the way I never saw you as anything more than someone who worked for me. I was completely, inexcusably wrong. I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't change anything. I know. I know I can't undo 4 years of being terrible to you. But I want to try to make it right. Dominic pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. This is a formal offer. Chief Operating Officer position. Full partnership track. Salary triple what you were making. Complete autonomy over your schedule and projects. And a written guarantee that you'll never be asked to sacrifice your personal life for the company again. Cassie opened the folder, her eyes scanning the document. Her expression remained carefully neutral. This is generous. It's what you deserve. What you've always deserved. Why now, Dominic? Why does it take me leaving for you to suddenly value my contributions? He met her eyes directly. Because I'm an idiot who didn't realize what he had until it was gone. Because the company is falling apart without you. Because every morning I look at your empty desk and realize how much I miss you. He paused, then added quietly, and not just as an employee. Cassie's eyes widened slightly. What does that mean? It means that somewhere over the past 4 years, you became the most important person in my life, and I was too blind or too scared to admit it. It means I spent 4 years keeping you at arm's length because acknowledging how much you mattered terrified me. Dominic's voice dropped lower. It means I think I've been falling in love with you, and I pushed you away because I didn't know how to handle it. The truth. The restaurant noise faded into background static. Cassie stared at him, searching for any sign of manipulation or lies. But all she saw was raw honesty and vulnerability she had never witnessed before. You made me cry, she said softly. Multiple times. You made me feel worthless and invisible. You treated me like I was nothing more than a tool for your convenience. I know. And now you're telling me it was because you had feelings for me? That's supposed to make it okay? No. Nothing makes it okay. Dominic leaned forward. But I'm asking for a chance to be better. To treat you the way you deserve. To build something real instead of the toxic dynamic we had before. Cassie looked down at the offer letter, then back at him. I have an interview with Ryan Mitchell on Friday. I know. He told me. Dominic's jaw tightened. He's a good man. He'd treat you well. You should take that interview seriously. You're not going to try to stop me? I want you to choose me because you want to, not because I manipulated you into it. He reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. But I'm hoping you'll give me a chance. Give us a chance. Cassie was quiet for a long moment. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. The offer stands regardless of anything else. You've earned it based purely on merit. Dominic stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Cassie, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm sorry it took losing you to figure that out. He walked out of the restaurant, leaving Cassie alone with the offer letter and a heart full of conflicting emotions. She had spent 4 years building walls against Dominic Hartwell. Now he was asking her to tear them down. The question was whether she was brave enough to try the decision. Cassie spent the next 2 days in turmoil. She attended her interview with Ryan Mitchell, who was charming, professional, and everything Dominic was not. He offered her an excellent position with generous terms and a healthy work environment. It was the safe choice, the smart choice. But safe and smart did not account for the way her heart raced when she thought about Dominic's confession. They did not explain why she found herself rereading his offer letter at midnight, studying every word like it contained hidden meanings. They did not address the small, persistent voice in her head asking what if he really had changed. On Thursday evening, Cassie called Jennifer. "I need advice," she said without preamble. "About the job offers?" "About Dominic. He told me he has feelings for me. Real feelings. And I don't know what to do with that information." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "Do you have feelings for him?" "I don't know. Maybe. I spent 4 years being angry at him, but underneath that, there was always something else. Some awareness of him that went beyond professional." Cassie sighed. "Is that crazy? To have feelings for someone who treated me so badly? Not if he's genuinely changed. Not if he's willing to do the work to build something healthy." Jennifer's voice was gentle. "But Cassie, you need to protect yourself. Don't go back just because he apologized. Go back only if you believe things can actually be different." That night, Cassie made her decision. She called Dominic at 11 p.m. "I'll come back," she said when he answered breathlessly on the first ring. "But I have conditions." "Anything. We start completely over. New dynamic, new boundaries, new respect. If you slip back into old patterns even once, I walk away permanently." "Agreed. And we take things slowly. I'm not jumping into a relationship with you just because you suddenly decided you have feelings. You need to prove you've changed, and I need time to figure out what I actually want. Whatever you need." "I'm serious, Dominic. This is your only chance. Don't waste it." "I won't. I promise you, I won't." The new beginning. Cassie returned to Hartwell Finance the following Monday as Chief Operating Officer. The staff was surprised but delighted to see her back. Dominic was different from day one. He said please and thank you. He asked about her weekends. He respected her schedule and never called after hours unless it was genuinely urgent. In meetings, he deferred to her expertise. He praised her publicly and gave her credit for ideas she had contributed over the years. He was patient, thoughtful, and consistently present in ways he had never been before. It was like working with an entirely different person. Slowly, carefully, they began building something new. Coffee meetings that ran long because they were actually talking, not just discussing business. Lunch conversations where they shared personal stories. Moments of genuine laughter that surprised them both. 6 weeks into her return, Dominic asked if she would have dinner with him. Not a business dinner, but an actual date. Cassie said yes. The restaurant was intimate and elegant, nothing like the places they had met for business functions. Dominic was nervous, which was charming in its unexpectedness. They talked about everything except work. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Cassie learned that Dominic's drive came from growing up poor, watching his single mother work 3 jobs. He learned that Cassie's need for respect stemmed from a father who had never valued her accomplishments. "I see myself in you sometimes," Dominic admitted over dessert. "That determination to prove yourself, to never be overlooked again. Maybe that's why I was so hard on you. You reminded me of everything I was afraid of failing at. That's not an excuse. I know. But it's the truth." He reached across the table and took her hand. "Thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it." Cassie squeezed his hand. "You're earning it. Every day, you're earning it." The challenge. Their relationship remained private for the first 3 months. They were both aware of the complications that could arise from the CEO dating the COO, especially given their history. But rumors started anyway. Whispers in the break room, knowing glances from colleagues. The situation came to a head when Amanda Pierce, a senior executive who had always resented Cassie's rapid rise, confronted them during a board meeting. I think it's relevant to disclose that Mr. Hartwell and Ms. Bennett are involved in a personal relationship, Amanda announced, her tone dripping with false concern. Given the power dynamics and Ms. Bennett's recent promotion, I believe it creates a conflict of interest that the board should address. The conference room went silent. Dominic's jaw tightened, but before he could speak, Cassie stood up. "You're right that transparency is important," she said calmly. "Dominic and I are dating. We have been for 2 months. My promotion, however, was offered before our relationship began and was based solely on 4 years of exemplary performance and measurable contributions to this company's success." She pulled out a folder and distributed copies around the table. "These are documentation of every major project I've led, every contract I've negotiated, every strategy I've implemented. My value to Hartwell Finance is demonstrated through results, not through any personal relationship with the CEO." Amanda's face reddened. "Nevertheless, the appearance of impropriety is concerning." "Then let's eliminate any appearance issues," Dominic said, standing beside Cassie. "Ms. Bennett and I are in a committed relationship. If the board believes this creates a conflict, I'm willing to step back from certain decision-making processes regarding her role. We can implement additional oversight, third-party reviews, whatever is necessary to ensure complete transparency." The board chair, an older woman named Patricia Henderson, looked between them thoughtfully. "I appreciate your honesty. However, I think Ms. Pierce's concerns, while noted, are premature. Ms. Bennett's track record speaks for itself. Unless there's evidence of actual impropriety rather than speculation, I see no reason to take action." She fixed Amanda with a stern look. "In fact, I'm more concerned about attempts to undermine valued executives based on personal bias. Ms. Bennett has brought nothing but success to this company. Let's focus on results rather than gossip." The meeting continued, but the message was clear. Cassie had proven her worth beyond any doubt. The resolution. That evening, Dominic and Cassie sat in his office after everyone else had gone home. The city lights sparkled below them, the same view Cassie had seen thousands of times but somehow looked different now. "You didn't have to defend me like that," Dominic said softly. "I could have handled Amanda." "I know. But I needed to defend myself. To show everyone, including you, that I'm here because I earned it, not because we're together." Dominic pulled her close. "I've never doubted that. You're the strongest, most capable person I know. I'm just lucky you're giving me a chance to be part of your life." Cassie looked up at him. "Are you happy? With how things turned out?" "Happier than I've ever been. Terrified sometimes, because I know how badly I could mess this up. But mostly just grateful." He kissed her forehead gently. "You changed my entire life, Cassie. You made me a better person." "We changed each other," she corrected. "I learned to stand up for myself. You learned to see beyond work and ambition. We both grew." 6 months later, Hartwell Finance announced record profits and expansion into 3 new markets. Business magazines featured both Dominic and Cassie, calling them one of the most effective leadership teams in the industry. Their relationship was public knowledge now, accepted and respected by colleagues who saw how they balanced each other. On a quiet Sunday morning, Dominic made Cassie breakfast in his apartment. They ate on the balcony, watching the city wake up, talking about everything and nothing. It was ordinary and perfect. "Do you ever regret it?" Dominic asked suddenly. "Walking away that night? Making me work so hard to get you back?" Cassie smiled. "Not for a second. Best decision I ever made. Because if I hadn't left, we never would have gotten here. You needed to lose me to realize what you had. And I needed to leave to understand my own worth." "I love you," he said simply. "I know I don't say it enough, but I do. Completely. I love you too. Even though you still leave your coffee cups everywhere and refuse to admit when you're wrong about small things. I'm working on it. I know you are. Cassie leaned over and kissed him. And that's what matters. That we're both still working on it, together. Later that day, they drove to Jennifer's house for Sunday dinner with Cassie's family. Tommy was home from his first semester of college, full of stories and excitement. As Cassie watched Dominic laugh with her nephew, genuinely interested in his tales of campus life, she felt a deep sense of contentment. This was what she had walked away to find. Not just respect in the workplace, but a real partnership. Not just professional success, but personal happiness. Not just being seen, but being truly valued. Dominic caught her eye across the table and smiled. It was a smile full of love and gratitude and promise. A smile that said he understood how lucky he was, how close he had come to losing everything that mattered. Cassie smiled back, her heart full. She had taken the biggest risk of her life when she walked away from that office. And in doing so, she had found something far more valuable than any job or salary or title. She had found herself, her strength, and eventually, a love built on mutual respect and genuine partnership. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what's comfortable but toxic. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, walking away leads you exactly where you're meant to be.